It's from your future returns.
Alrighty, welcome to Talk Recovery Radio. We're coming to you live, finally.
You're dark.
Sorry, guys.
We live? You've glitched. Giuseppe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but for some reason my computer screen is not behaving properly. So I'm not too sure what it's even doing. So can you hear me, Darren?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So what I'll do is I'll just I'll just stay kind of yeah, bizarre. I'm not too sure what to do here other than continue on with the show the way it is.
Oh, there you go. There's some light on you.
See me now? All right. Okay, sorry for all our listeners. We had a technical difficulty going on.
Yeah, we gotta work on our introduction to the show.
Yeah, we need to. I swear we're paying big bucks for Zoom, but it doesn't really seem to be helping us when we want to do our live shows. We come to you live every Thursday. Talk Recovery Radio usually is on 100.5 FM, which is CFRO co-op radio in the downtown east side of Vancouver. The station's closed right now due to the COVID-19, but we're excited to bring the show to you via Zoom. Darren, how you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not watching the news at my house. But I read on Facebook, I saw a post of something about another Trudeau announcing 18 months of lockdown.
Yeah.
And
18 months?
18 months.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if that's like as it is right now. It's still, like I said, it was just a quick little write-up that somebody posted, and yeah, my gut actually sort of wrenched a bit. Like, not for me. I can do this all day long, but like, just as far as what it's all going to look like, it's worrisome. It's very worrisome to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm pretty worried about it also as well. But we got quite a few events going on that we put on, and we're nervous about what those events are going to look like, and if they're going to organize. So on May 30th, we're going to make an announcement on what's going on with Intoxicated, Recovery Day, Clean, Sober, and Proud, and the Recovery Capital Conference, all part of Recovery Month Canada. So we did some postings today on social media. So check that out. And we've got a community engagement that's going to be engaging millions of people across Canada. And to put that all on hold is quite nerve-wracking. But we got to do what we got to do. So Talk Recovery Radio comes to you live every Thursday, hundreds of guests, 6 seasons, and you can catch us back in the studio hopefully in a couple of weeks. But we're trying to make the best out of it with this Zoom live. And you're listening to Talk Recovery Radio, powered by New West Recovery, which is made up of Last Star Recovery Society and Mr. House. And we've got a special show for you today. I guess we've been trying to bring on the show for a while, but there's finally an opportunity to have him on the show. Darren, who are we talking recovery with today?
Yeah, we get to talk recovery with Todd Crandell. Welcome to the show, Todd. Good to see you. I don't know if is he muted? You're muted.
Yeah, he's let me unmute him. There we go. Sorry about that, Todd.
There we go.
Right.
It's great to finally talk to you guys.
Well, no doubt. I was just thinking we were supposed to have our interview, I think back in February. I can't remember what happened. But yeah, I mean, it would have been on the phone. Now we get to actually see your face and talk to each other. So there are some benefits to this style. Yeah, so Todd Crandell, you're from Racing for Recovery, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping everyone affected by addiction. I guess this was founded in 2001.
Correct.
And the other part of the story is this intense athlete that you are, Ironman, marathons, over the years, a bunch of books that you've written. But let's go back to the beginning of Racing for Recovery. Did you have like notoriety at that time, or was this, as a marathon athlete, or was this just something that you did before all of that?
Great question. It's kind of interesting, I guess, not to get weird, but I'm a big spiritual guy, and I believe in God. I believe in my dead mom that committed suicide from addiction when I was 3. So when I founded Racing for Recovery, I believe it was another gift that God and my mom kind of gave me that said, hey, you can do something with your story to help other people. To answer your question specifically, I had no, quote, notoriety at this time, except for in April 15th of 2001, it was my, 8th year of sobriety at the time. I got sober in 93. Our local newspaper ran a story about my life at that point of, doing some Ironmans. I just had come home from Ironman New Zealand, being a former, cocaine addict and all that stuff. And the newspaper comes out in our local town, and the response was, it was insane. Guys I did drugs with were calling me, cops that had arrested me were calling me. And again, I just thought, hey, I think I have something here that can be of service to someone else. And that was the catalyst of forming Racing for Recovery.
It's interesting because I don't know. I mean, coming from addiction myself, it's the miracle in and of itself if you can tell the story of your own addiction or anybody's addiction and then begin a story of recovery. That right there is enough. As soon as you add something unique or special or something that few people can do to that story of recovery, it becomes a little bit more of a story, doesn't it? I mean, and I totally appreciate the fact that you've sort of, used that story of recovery, and kept it, as far as the racing part goes, into the Racing for Recovery. So I wouldn't presume that, you bring in a junkie into your program and train him for a marathon. So tell us a little bit about what is Racing for Recovery.
I love doing this stuff. So I got to bring I don't like calling her this, but my stepmom, she said a couple of things in my life that have been so profound. And here's one. So ESPN had done a feature on me in 2007. And I guess this is where some of the notoriety has come into play, right? So ESPN does this thing. My mom's working at a local grocery store, and all these people are coming in going, oh, isn't Todd great? And you should be so proud. And my mom said, he really shouldn't have been doing drugs in the first place. So I don't know what the big deal is, right? So you talk about the humility that comes into this. And I've always felt, yes, we all have our story of I smoked that, I snorted that, I drank Ocean's alcohol. It's like, I get it. There's no trophy in that, right?
Right.
coming into recovery 100%. Is it all about good on you for not drinking for 10 years? That's awesome. But for me, it's been service. What does being sober mean to other people? What can I graciously do for someone else that's been given to me? And that's the concept of Racing for Recovery. With respect of having people come in right off the street and do an Ironman, we've had that. We've had it done. Now, it's not the whole focus of this. I've gone back and became a licensed clinical counselor. We have support group meetings that include family members. We do group counseling, educational groups, yoga, spirituality, nutrition, financial planning. We do a variety of things in a balanced, holistic lifestyle that help people not only attain sobriety, but sustain it. And the exercise is a part of that balanced, holistic lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's so good to hear, because you hear some of these stories, and like, you know, like a marathon athlete, an Ironman athlete would, you know, change somebody's life like a professional boxer would. It's just in the ring 24/7. It's all a metaphor and analogy of life, which could probably work, but missing all of the other components of getting well would be, you know, counterproductive really in the whole essence of what somebody's going through at the beginning. I just want to, like, just so people know, how many Ironman competitions have you done?
Well, you guys are asking me some killer questions, man. I love it, because it's given me the time to explain some of this stuff. So I've done 2 Ultramans. I've done 31 full Ironmans and 50 half Ironmans.
Wow. And so you also attained the all-world athlete status, which I'm sure is doing that, like a certain number of competitions, or
it just means I'm dumb enough to keep going and doing things. That's all.
Okay, so I remember hearing a lot when I got clean, the word substitution, because addicts, obsessive compulsive mentality, you know, just want something in front of me. And, you know, there's the argument of, well, at least it's a similar behavior. It's a parallel behavior, but it's not, you know, doing dope. So how could that be bad? But at some point, you know, that you would just miss out on so many things if it was just a substitute. How did you, like, I mean, that would seem like a complete distraction, so much training for you, you know, so much focus. How did you keep yourself from it becoming an addiction?
Great question. Racing for Recovery is about a balanced, holistic lifestyle. I am not addicted to Ironman. If you look at, you know, I don't even like talking about this, but for the listener, I'll have 27 years of sobriety next Wednesday. I don't know how many days that is, but if I've done 83 Ironman events, take 83 days versus 27 years. That's not an addiction. Right. That's something I've done 83 times. But in those 27 years, it's been learning how not to have it become an addiction, which honestly, I did. I don't want to call it I was addicted to it, but it became a little off balance. It caused me a lot of stress with my family, caused me to maybe not be as good of a dad as I could have been. And I learned from that and brought it back into a more of a balanced approach where I still do these things, but I do them with a different mindset. I'm not trying to be the best. I'm not trying to be the quickest. I'm trying to travel to different countries, take my kids with me, take people from Racing for Recovery along with me on these journeys, and just show them how Racing for Recovery got started, and to let them take that Ironman metaphor and apply it to their own recovery.
Right. I mean, the last thing you would want for somebody that's ended their life of addiction, found recovery, and not gone after their dream. It's going to take some effort, focus, energy, and I know that balance of how much, say program of recovery you were doing in the beginning is going to lessen, and I think appropriately with life moving on, it should. My next question is, being a man of spiritualness and what you were saying at the top of the show, like we hear a lot of letting go, letting God, having faith in a higher power, relying on others, and self-will being a negative. And I'm just like, the amount of personal will involved in training. I mean, I've gone on runs before, and I'm not like, I am literally kicking myself to keep going, and how much, personal will it takes to go past the pain and the discomfort. Tell us a little bit about, is self-will a good thing? Is it an asset at some point?
Self-will is imperative, right? It's absolutely essential. I don't believe in powerless. I believe in empowerment. Self-will, we have self-will when we're doing what we're doing to get our drugs for the day. That's all drive. That's motivation, determination, perseverance, right? To stay high. Same thing is applicable in recovery. I believe when you hit emotional hardships, when the traumas that led to addiction start to come back into your life when you're sober, you better have that self-will along with support and counseling and lifestyle building to help you persevere to continue on. Those same attributes that I use in finishing an Ironman are 100% applicable to not only sustaining sobriety. I've used it to, finish my master's degree, to work on my marriage, to build Racing for Recovery, to get spiritually fit, nutritionally fit with being a vegan a couple of years ago. It's the same drive that was channeled into self-destruction is now put into self-betterment. So I think drive and determination are essential in this.
No doubt. I mean, it's that little bit of a perspective between what, as an individual, I know I'm capable of doing myself, and like I said, whenever I hit a level of discomfort and pain, and that point where I don't know, like, who do we talk to? Where do we get that extra little bit of drive? Is that where the higher power comes in? Do you notice yourself using that in your competitions, in your races?
I'll give you a story that really resonated with me. I was in Toronto. God love Canada. I should have been born up there, but so I'm up in Toronto, and I'm getting ready to do the race, and I didn't feel well. And I had a guy that came up and said, "Hey, I read about you in the paper last night. I think what you're doing is great." And I said, "Man, I'm not feeling it today." And I'll never forget this. He said to me, he goes, "You're doing it for the addict that won't make it today and for the one that didn't make it yesterday." And that really hit me. It's like, why am I here? And I believe I've been given a platform to deliver a message of hope. That's why I'm out there doing what I'm doing. It's to showcase, the Racing for Recovery slogan, and that's with sobriety, anything is possible. So I call on God. I'll call on my mom. I'll call on former times I've overcome whatever, or I'll be inspired by stories I've heard from other people, because those Ironmans are not only a physical event, they're a mental and spiritual and emotional journey as well.
No doubt.
Right. So the physical part is really irrelevant at some point, right? It's like, what do you have deep inside you, or what are you going to call upon to help you carry on? And I love going to the well for that stuff.
Yeah, it must be such an analogy for working as a counselor as well with guys early on, because we struggle with the excuses and the doubts and the lack of faith, and just that anything I can do to not put myself into discomfort and pain and anguish, and nothing rings more true than that statement. Actually, right now in the world we live in is just this thought towards, doing my day to day as much as I can for, those that are out there. It's such a difficult time. Relapse rate is going up, and it must affect your organization, that has groups and counseling interventions, assessments, outpatient groups. Like, what are you doing now with your organization that's in place with what's going on with the pandemic?
It's a weird time for us all, right? But there's three words that I think are the foundation of everything that I know I live by and what we try and instill in members of Racing for Recovery, and that's empathy, humility, and gratitude. So think of when it's normal and people are, out there grinding 9 to 5 in a job that they can't stand. They're sitting there thinking, God, I'd give anything to be home with my family right now. Well, you got it. It's here. Yeah. So to me, it's just a time to really focus on what's important, things that don't cost anything, your family, your friends, your faith, time with loved ones. To me, it's a good time. It's also a time of having empathy for others. It's a time to be health conscious. It's a time to give back. And with respect to Racing for Recovery services, we're just thankful to have technology that we're delivering our same services just in a different format. And I'm grateful for people that have taught us how to use the Zoom format and so forth. And we're hooking up with people all over to still do what we do. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that's great. Like, people still need that connection of and just a conversation, any which way possible. Families are still going through, their struggles with family members, struggling with addiction and just underneath that, like, whereabouts are you?
We're in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. We're sort of balancing up here in Vancouver, this affair with the pandemic, but also with the overdose crisis. Yeah. And it seems to be, not getting any sort of momentum or discussion anymore. Is it happening down there as well? Like, are you finding it like that you have to, reach out more, or are you getting more calls in? What's going on?
We're getting a ton of calls because a lot of the treatment agencies they've shut down, or their services have been limited. And this is where, like, that mindset of Ironman stuff is coming into was the pandemic. I'm like, okay, we have this. It's not going to deter what we're doing at all. Where's the solution to keep this going, to continue to provide that service? Because both of you guys, we're here to give back. That's the bottom line. It's constant giving back while simultaneously taking care of self. So we're seeing a resurgence in meth and cocaine again. Alcohol is on the rise again. I mean, I guess that's a normal staple. But for us, it's just finding a way to continue doing what we're doing because there's people in need right now. And I don't want to stop doing what we're fortunate to do because of this pandemic.
Yeah. And the importance to take care of ourselves for when, next we need to be available in person and when you can open up the doors again and let people come in. So Todd Crandell, Racing for Recovery. I mean, check this guy out. You've got books from Addict to Ironman, Running with Demons. I'm not sure, how many more you have, but definitely holding true to the aspect of spirituality, and like you said, empathy, gratitude. What was the third one?
Humility.
What a great message I think for our viewers and listeners, to take into consideration at this time. So Todd Crandell, thanks so much for coming on Talk Recovery with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Peace to you all. Okay.
Thanks,
Right
Todd.
on.
Peace. Bye.
Take care, Todd.
You too.
That was a great interview, Darren. Awesome. Racing for Recovery, seen them online and so forth. And their website, they got a Facebook page, Racing for Recovery. You can check that out on Facebook and Google their name, and it'll be coming up right away. Racingforrecovery.org is their website. And oh, there we go. And we've got Kimberly now on the show. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Nice to see you again.
Good
Nice
to see
to see you. Yes, welcome back to the show. Talk Recovery comes live every Thursday, usually on the radio. You were in the station last time. You joined us to talk about your personal story. Thanks for coming on Zoom Live. Wanted to get you on the air. You're part of Recovery Canada.
Yes.
There's a rather large Facebook group with a lot of wonderful people in recovery joining, and I like to sometimes go on there and eat popcorn and just read the comments, because a lot of people have some awesome opinions about recovery. I want to ask you, what's the role of social media from the last time you were on the show to now? What's your take on social media and recovery today?
Well, recovery right now has basically gone online. So we're all stuck at home, social distancing, self-isolating, and we saw recovery in a matter of 24 to 48 hours go completely 100% online. So we are finding all of the connections we were making in real life are now having to take place online, and social media is becoming the number one place to connect people right now.
I noticed a post from you a couple of days ago. It's when you put yourself out there, there's a third love you, a third hate you, and a third can give two shit, don't care. Put it that way. So I noticed the post where you were feeling attacked, and people were criticizing your very aggressive efforts on connecting people. What happened, and what are you doing to cope with that? Because it's an issue a lot of people face.
Right. So what happened was a lot of the in-person meetings have gone online, and they're being hosted on this platform, Zoom. And Zoom has had some trouble with security, and they've made some changes to security. And there's been debate between a lot of people over how to get the message out that the meetings are there. And I am very passionate about making sure that it's accessible to everybody, because I get emails in a role that I've taken outside of Recovery Canada, with people desperate to be connected. I run a Zoom meeting for a 12-step fellowship, and the password got added, and I got about 150 emails of people desperate for their lifeline. And
Yeah.
I think that it's very important to be able to find that lifeline, especially now. And I made it very clear that it was there, and here we are, come find us. And some people thought that was breaking some longstanding traditions, and I felt it wasn't. I fought for those people that are feeling isolated and are struggling to stay sober right now. And I know there's lots of other people just like I am that are doing that same fight right now, because there's people that are relapsing, and there's people that are overdosing and dying, and we need to come together united as a group to support everyone in their recovery right now.
So do you have any recommendations for people that are, some people have been turned off by the Zoom meetings because there were some hackers. Well, they're not even hackers. They're just trolls bouncing in. What are some of the security measures in place? What do you recommend people do if they're in a meeting, and what to do? Because I was on a meeting the other day, and everyone's like, stop the meeting. And I was like, no, don't stop the meeting. Like, just chill.
No, actually, there was a really amazing turn of events this morning with Zoom updated today. So what Zoom did originally was add a password to every account. which makes it difficult in an anonymous program to get the information out there. I can't track everyone down who has my meeting ID. So if you have a small meeting, having a password works great. Having the waiting room is an amazing feature that you can let people in as they show up. But in a meeting such as the one I help with, we have upwards of 400 to 700 people. I can't let them in individually, and I can't get them the passwords. So we opened it up, and we just have really tight back-end security. And we assign a co-host to keep the meeting safe. And if anything pops up, we deal with it swiftly and efficiently. We don't draw attention to it. And that person's blocked from our platform. Since this all happened Saturday, Zoom instigated an enable a waiting room. So I have an open meeting at the beginning where all of our guests can come. And once the meeting begins, we can turn that enable waiting room on, as opposed to locking everybody out. I really don't like locking the meeting, because then people that are late can't get in. And again, you get the same problem where you're denying someone their access to their lifeline. So this new waiting room feature is awesome. Meeting starts, you turn it on, and you can trickle people in one at a time.
Yeah, I think the distraction of being Zoom bombed for however long it takes for the administrator to get them off is worth, the open policy for a newcomer to access that meeting. I mean, I don't know. Like I just, it was, as soon as the passwords idea came out, it was like, okay, it takes care of one problem, but it makes a bigger one, I think.
It's a huge problem.
Well, and a big problem is with the passwords, they're encrypted right into the link. So say I have a 12-step meeting and it's being listed on a 12step.org website, which is being broadcast by TMZ. A 16-year-old boy can easily go to that website, click that link, and the password's there, and he's still going to bomb my meeting. So, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. They're going to find their way to get in, right? So it's being prepared and not having a false sense of security.
I mean, that was sort of the draw for me when I had my first experience in a 12-step meeting, like an open meeting. And somebody came in with severe mental health and completely disrupted the meeting inappropriately.
I was there. I remember.
It was actually during my cake, and I was embarrassed. I lost track. And everybody was just sort of like, stop. But there was, in that energy, there was more a level after that initial shock of what was happening, of compassion, of identifying somebody who is sick. Like it wasn't about like get out, and getting aggressive and throwing them out. Like, how dare you? It was like, that's why we have open meetings. Like, come on in. I mean, I'm sure the Zoom bombers, they're doing it on purpose and they know what they're doing, but we're addicts, man.
I behaved way worse in real life.
There's nothing I'm going to see, in this format that I haven't already seen. Like,
exactly. Yeah. We've been through worse. So what are some of the things you're doing outside of, Zoom meetings and so forth? What are some of the things that you're doing, Kimberly, to get through what we're getting through? And what's the conversations on your group, and any suggestions out there? I know there's a lot of posts, like almost every few minutes on Recovery Canada. So what are some of the things that stick out for you?
A lot of it is just staying connected. So we are seeing actually a lot of newcomers and people coming back. So we're connecting a lot of people with support. So either sponsors or temporary sponsors. We're running online. Just about everything we do in real life, we're running it online. We're doing check-in posts Obviously, as admin, we're monitoring the posts because, like you said, some of them are popcorn worthy ones. But a lot of them are people who have relapsed or know someone who have relapsed who are looking for a treatment center that's accepting intake, because a lot of the treatment centers are locked down. And so it's just such a valuable resource where someone may have information that someone else needs, and we're able to connect the two together. And that's the whole purpose of social media, was for that connection. So I actually think we're using social media for what it was designed for, instead of using it to inflate our egos with pictures of ourselves and our food. We're back to using it for connection, which I absolutely think is amazing.
That's it's the silver lining. It's almost, through this pandemic, you hear some people are now starting to say what good is going to come out of this. And I was talking to somebody earlier today. Los Angeles has no smog right now for like the first time in I don't even know how long, but that's a big deal, and so forth. And just the idea of people actually, getting off their devices, hopefully, and connecting with each other. And I know Darren's got a couple of kids, and just hanging out with them by the river and going for a walk, and just getting reassessing the amount of time that we actually spend on getting people, places, and things to work for us, or to like just kind of like enjoy the world. And just like Todd, our first guest, it's like we've been asking for some relaxation time and some down to earth time, and now we have it.
Absolutely.
What are we going to do with it?
Well, and that too, we've got people doing readings, and we've got girls that are doing mindful meditation Zooms. So like, I just think there was already so much possibility with Zoom and with Facebook and all those connections. And I think it's just forcing people to actually use it. And I see better connections being made. People are more willing to help now than they were before. Be it because they have more time, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, it's definitely, the show is brought to you by New West Recovery, made up of Last Door and Westminster House. And the phones are ringing, people are asking for help. And I think now parents are at home with their kids who during a pandemic can't stop drinking or using, and you're realizing the addiction much more. And it's if this pandemic can't get you to stop using, then what will, right? And so we're noticing that. And our hopes are that the provincial government, not just here but across the country, put some more resources in mental health and addiction services, because like our funded beds are full. There's calls coming in every day, there's just no room. And there could be. So it's sad, because the only real emergency funding that's come out, which some people, depending on what side of the fence you're on, would Safe Supply, agree with it or don't agree with it. I'm kind of just taking a stance of I don't know what to do about anything these days in regards to Safe Supply. What's after Safe Supply is my biggest fear. How do you think Safe Supply is going to affect, you're part of this big, massive group. Has there been any chatter in Recovery Canada about that, or?
Well, there was some false information when we first got forced home, with some of the safe injection sites on the downtown east side being shut down. And I mean, the staffing levels are reduced, so there's less people providing support. But I mean, I'm all for anybody that can get recovery. And I know that they made an announcement this morning with regards to mental health. Premier Horgan was on this morning. I haven't had a chance to investigate what that announcement was yet.
I was playing it for a little while too. And it's just get to the point.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. What are you doing? Like, why does this have to take so long? So I started watching it, and then sadly had to close the window. because I mean, I'm not too sure what the announcement was either, so we'll have to follow some feeds later on today.
Yeah.
How's your business? I know that you sell t-shirts.
My business is booming. Thank you. People are into recovery right now. I don't know if it's my increased presence on social media. I think it's pretty much the same, but yeah, I'm working from home. My kids are home. They're driving me nuts. So the homeschooling thing, I'm not part of that. They can figure that out on their own, but yeah, business is doing really well.
And what's the name of for our viewers and listeners?
Recovered Apparel. So, and it's spelt funny, RECVRD. If you Google sober clothing, I am in #1 spot for sober clothing on Google. So I just put a sale today, $10 off anything. So if anybody wants to get some recovery gear to rep on their Zoom meeting.
Right.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thanks for giving us some tips there about Zoom. Recovery Canada is on Facebook. It's a private group, but you can find it and join it, right?
Easy to find. We have over 7,000 members across Canada. Any type of recovery is welcome. We support everyone. You don't have to be a 12-stepper to get in.
Perfect. There's many pathways, and like we do here on the show. Yeah, there. Just like we had Racing for Recovery earlier on today. They really believe in physical wellness, which is crucial to sustainable recovery. And thanks for watching. Sorry, at the beginning we had a bit of a rough start. Zoom and Facebook Live, just, there's still a couple of bugs in there. So we'll try to figure that out. A special shout out to Kimmett, who is at the station, who's going to be broadcasting the show on 100.5 FM. Once he gets a copy of it, we can't Zoom live on a radio station. It's against policies, so it has to be a recorded show. So thanks, Kimmett, for putting the extra energy into that. And hopefully Darren will be in the studio soon.
Yeah, back down in the east side.
Yeah. Here, do a high five for me, Darren. I miss you. I haven't. Yeah, there we go. Kimberly, there we go. There you go.
And thank you guys for all you do. Like, I know Giuseppe and Darren, you guys do so much work for the recovery community, and I absolutely adore both of you for all your hard work as well.
Well, this is what I'm going through right now. So that's a picture of Intoxicated 3 years ago, and word is, we're going to be expanding Intoxicated again this year. They're giving us all of Burrard and Davie, which is, a huge announcement if we can do it. And, we went from a small parking lot to Thurlow and Davie, but because it was so big last year, they decided to move us to the other block. And so there's all these plans. We've got our lineup already all confirmed. It's going to be an amazing show. And we had till May 30th, and the city will let us know if City of Vancouver events can go or get canceled. And the Olympics were canceled, so what am I gonna cry about? I mean, it's a bit of a bigger party, but to me, this is, it's more than just an event. It's one of those things where I know people that have gone to Clean, Sober, and Proud or danced on our float, and it's like, I'm clean today because I saw this at Pride last year, and it's that community engagement and that connection. So I appreciate Recovery Canada keeping people connected. Darren?
I'm just trying to find the light, right? Like, if it doesn't happen, if these events that we do every year don't happen this year, I just think about that. Like, we're all just like wanting to reconnect. I can only imagine that the next Recovery Day, the next Pride, the next Clean, Sober, and Proud event, people aren't gonna even give that one excuse. I don't think I'll go next year. Everybody's gonna show up. Everybody. It's good. We're gonna see the biggest numbers in any previous year of every event that's gonna happen after this is all over. It's gonna be huge.
I'm gonna be there. I'm excited.
I know.
I just loved last year. It was my first time. It was so awesome.
Yeah. Last year was a great time with Trooper and so forth. Record crowds. Yeah. Okay. Recovered Apparel, Kimberly from Recovery Canada. That closes us down for another episode on Zoom Live. And once again, we'll be hopefully in the studio very soon. You can replay this show on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, and of course, talkrecoveryradio.com is our website, powered by New West Recovery. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Kimberly. Thanks, Todd, who was our earlier guest. Take care, everybody.
See you next week, guys.
Take care.